All right. Happy Friday. Like Mr. Cotter, I am back. I know that reference has dated me horribly, but there it is. Thanks for abiding with my absence this week. Just had a lot of family and work stuff collide, and there was no way I could balance the books, so to speak, and still stream. So I had to put it aside. But I didn't leave because of you, and I am happy to be back. Hey, Bullet Catcher. Hey, Ian. Hey, Bill. I thought I would so originally I was going to go back and do the normal Friday, community roundup, but this Dungeon 23 thing, it's new, it's out there, it's hip, it's hot. Everybody's talking about it. So I thought, let's do something about this, and we'll give Reddit and give some of the folks in the community a chance to give me some good ammunition. Let's rest, and then we'll come back to it. I guess next week. Hey, Terrence. Hey, Perkins. What you're looking at here is this hub that I set up on my forums, which is at forums.hexed.press, which I have collected, and I will continue to update as I find stuff with resources, and hopefully folks will come in and post if they do the challenge, post updates and things like that. And I thought we could just go through and look at the kind of initial, just pretty much go through the list of links I have here. We'll look at the initial post, talk about that. We can talk about the kind of resources that are out there. I have a helper doc we can look at. We can also point to the subreddit, and then I'm sure questions, comments, things will come up. I'm really interested in how this challenge is going to go. I don't think I'm going to do it myself. Well, at least not as it was originally configured. I'll talk about when I get to my helper doc, but I'm going to be updating it maybe as soon as tonight, maybe tomorrow, with an alternative schedule that gives it a lot more structure to the process, which and also actually shortens it a bit because by the books, this is a year-long challenge. So you're signing up for a really long stretch. And I was concerned when I first read it, and I don't know if there's a list to the Twitter, which basically the original Twitter post was, hey, let's do this 1 year, one room a day for a year, 12 levels, 365 rooms, go. And my initial thought was that's awfully one, it's awfully ambitious. And two, it's just lacking. I mean, there's no structure to the challenge. And other than just a room a day, go and split it up into 12 levels. So I felt like, wow, a lot of people are going to start this thing out and flame out. And then at the end of it, what are you going to get? I mean, if you're doing a room a day and you're not really going beyond that, you're not, I don't know if they don't, obviously you can spend as much time doing whatever you want, but people just do, okay, room, a room, a room. Are you going to end up with an incoherent mess? My concern was, okay, if I go through and do a room a day over 365 days, and that's kind of all I do. I open my notebook, I do a room, close the notebook. Even if I'm looking at the room before it and I'm trying to have things match, even if I'm thinking in terms of levels, I felt like, man, I'm going to probably end up with just a mess. It's going to be incoherent. It's going to be it's just going to be totally linear. So the first thing I thought about is like, I don't know if this is for me. And then I started thinking when I saw somebody else post up kind of an alternative schedule, I thought, maybe I could make a schedule that's maybe more Gygax 75-ish if you want to compare it to one. Mine is a lot closer to kind of a Gygax 75 setup, but for mega dungeons. Maybe I'll show you a peek of it. It's not finished, but we'll get there. Perkins asks, "Have I seen Red Gygax 75?" Perkins, have I seen it? Have I read it? Not only did we go through it on the channel, but I actually went through and did the challenge on the channel. Perkins, where were you? Where have you been? Go back. Go back. Find it in the forums, or not in the forums, in the well, you can find it on my forums too, but you can find it in the archives. Did I see that? Read that Gygax 75. Pshaw, Perkins. Pshaw. Ian says it sounds like it gives you a lot of time to ruminate on that room. Oh boy. Oh, keep those puns. Keep those puns going. Okay. So I just opened all these basically in different tabs so you can look at it. So here is the post. All right, I don't have my glasses, so hopefully that will not cause issues down the line. So here was the original post. So this is on Sean's Substack, and Sean McCoy, I believe, is behind Mothership. So they have some gravitas in the hobby behind them, not just some goof off the street. The original tweet was Mega Dungeon for 2023, 12 levels, 365 rooms, one room a day. Keep it all in a journal. Let's do this. I really like the journal idea, And you can find maybe you can find it somewhere where someone posted kind of the what seemed to be a good journal setup that just has kind of grid, or it might have been like a dot grid. I'll try to find and dig it up. It might be in one of these other sources, but someone has some good ideas on kind of what kind of journal to get. So you're gonna have this nice physical book at the end of it. But let's read. And I haven't read this before. I was just going off the tweet and then some other stuff. So let's read what Mr. McCoy has to say. The other day, I posted on Twitter about a cool little project I'm working on for 2023. Essentially, I'm doing a dungeon room a day every day and keeping track of it in a little weekly calendar. Why? Well, I love dungeons and mega dungeon play, but writing a mega dungeon is difficult. It takes a lot of energy and it's hard to know when to work on it and for how long. This simplifies things. A dungeon room a day, every day for 2023. That's 365 rooms. I'll do a level a month or so, 12 levels. Every week is a little area of 7 rooms so I can keep my focus small. I'm using the amazing Hobonichi Weeks, which, if you don't know, is a great little notebook designed by the writer of the Earthbound slash Mother Games series. It's got great paper, and the Weeks version is the smaller, more portable notebook. Essentially, on a single spread, you've got 7 days on the left and then an open piece of graph paper on the right. That's perfect for a key of 7 rooms and a map. Here's another one that ships from the US. Got a world builder's notebook you've been dying to use? Now's the time. You don't have to use this notebook. Don't get hung up on the details here. Any old notebook will do. I just happen to have an addiction in Japanese stationery. No real need to journal, so that's what I'm doing, Dungeon as journal. There's some great things you can do here too. Instead of room numbers, you can number them with a date. This makes rooms pretty easy to find and reference within your notebook. Don't need a mega dungeon? Try 12 small dungeons. The point is to do a little bit of writing a day. And then we get some tips. Don't overthink it. Generators are your friend. If you can't think of what to write that day, just write empty room. See how easy that is? 365 rooms written like 3 orcs, 25 gold pieces is better than 5 rooms written like, and then an example of very effusive prose. If you want to keep up with the progress, okay. And then let's see. The greatest advice I ever got was have something to show for your time. Uh, that's a good note. And then there's a hashtag Dungeon23, and there's a PS if they need a weekly. If you need a weekly prompt, he's got 52 prompts, one per week. There he goes. Terrence says they're going to use the cocktail napkins. Cocktail napkins and stolen bank pens. Do banks even give pens anymore? I don't know. Here's a swig of hot oolong tea for the working man. By the way, oolong tea, can I just say, it was just a random discovery of mine. I've had it before, but I didn't really been drinking it as a habit. But it sits in between green teas and black teas, and I find I can drink it without needing to sweeten it up or do anything to it. So I'm really digging it right now. And if you kind of like teas, but you maybe think, well, the green teas maybe too vegetal, black teas too strong. You're looking to cut out sugar out of your drinks, which I am constantly trying to do. Try oolong. Give oolong a shot. This is just I have here now is just kind of cheap supermarket tea. I'm probably gonna look in trying some fancier teas. I seem to be drinking it consistently now. Ian's already Googling Japanese notebooks. Okay, so there's the initial post, right? Not too much going on. I'm not going to get into the comments. We've got that. The K5K says they're in. They had a notebook already, but this is the pants kick they need to get started. Awesome. I'd love if you come to the forum, the K5K, and drop your updates as you have them. Now I'm thinking about, man, I kind of feel like I'm starting to get warmed up into doing it. I think what I'll probably do is I'll follow my own advice that I'm getting ready to dole out on people and try it that way. Man, it is so ambitious because everything starts out easy, right? Oh, okay, a room a day. Oh, you can go through. You feel like you go to a week. I'm wondering what's people. Well, I'm really curious is to come back and say, all right, now it's month 10. Who's still in, and what does this look like? We'll see. I'm sure there'll be some exciting stuff, and maybe even makes more sense depending on your use case is to do the 12 dungeons of so many rooms a piece, or even just do it for a month. Just do it for a month and just do one dungeon of basically 30, 31. If you want to be sneaky and go into February, 27, whatever, 28 days, and write it out like that. Converter says they'd not be able to commit to it every day. I would probably miss some days. Yeah, well, I mean, the nice thing is, so the one thing in its favor is each day is just one room. And even like you said, hey, put empty room if you need to. You can always come back. I mean, this is the thing, right? Remember, we're going through this exercise. It's not at the end of the day, put your notebook immediately in an envelope and mail it off to parts unknown to be judged, right? You fill up your notebook. You've got some empty days. You've even got some missed days. You just can come back and fill them in. But the point is more that you're going to have this thing done, and hopefully you get 90%, 95%, whatever there. And then of course you're going to want to clean it up. You're going to want to put it in, depending on your use case. If you want to put it up on somewhere and share it, or if you're just going to use it at your table, then you can kind of polish it up, give it a second pass, whatever you want to do. But hopefully you'll have a bunch of cool rooms and things to have. One A mega room per month. That would be interesting, Caverna. A mega room per month. Oh, Terrence says they're a chai person. I've never had chai as a thing. I know chai is in Hindi, I guess, is tea. I've never had the kind of drink chai with the little whisk thing. It's something I should probably look into. I'm curious about it, but never had it. All right, so here we are into this. Looks like there's some. So this is in a blog form, and I'm just gonna put the not to not to push my own stuff, but heck, I have this forum. I try to use it. I'm just gonna put this into the chat. This has all the links to everything that I'm doing. See when this. I'm just waiting for this to show up. All right, I'm shows on screen. Forums.hex.press/t/dungeon23-discussion-hub/. You can go there. It's got all the links. If you're in here and you want to go up and look, you can also find this stuff. Kind of search around for a little bit. This is a blog post on itch by Andrew Duvall. We got the original post. Here's the alternate. Here's the alternate schedule that I saw. And this person, this is posted at the Spooky Action at a Distance blog. So they propose splitting it up into kind of a week. So Monday you do a room, on Tuesday you do an item, on Wednesday you do another room, on Thursday you do an inhabitant, on Friday you do another room, on Saturday you do a faction detail, and on Sunday you do a rumor. This is also, I think this is good, and this does, and I was saying the original prompt is basically structure less, room a day, just go. Here you're getting a little bit more. I still question this in a sense because I think that, or if you do this 52 weeks, 52 items, 52 faction details, 52 rumors, like it's just a lot. And one, it's a lot. And granted, you could skip some or do some, right? It just ends up being, I feel like you're either going to run out of just creative juice on, okay, it's an item kind of thing, or, oh gosh, another faction detail. It still seems like you're I guess my angle on the process, or what I'm trying to solve, I guess the problem I see that I'm trying to solve with my alternate schedule and kind of what I'm looking at it is, how do you keep some kind of focus, not focus on the overall challenge, on the overall thing, right? On the Dungeon 23 as a thing, but focus on coming out so that the other end you have something that's more or less coherent. And all these themes seem to be, you're kind of bucketing it out, either in just rooms, so you're going to tend to look at rooms, and the way it is, especially in a I imagine in a notebook, it's kind of like animating, right? You're going to be flipping pages, almost flipping back and forth from one thing to the next, or even maybe from one week to the next, and just keeping things so that you sort of maintain a sense of unity of place, that you don't, it's kind of like if you start writing a line or something and you're drawing and it's drawing in a large space, or you're cutting, you'll find that if you're cutting, I guess here's a holiday specific one. You're cutting a really long piece out of your wrapping paper, and you notice your line is just wandering. And so you'll see at the end of it, if you don't have any guides or anything, that you started off here and then you finished and you're way over there. And that is kind of the problem I feel like I'm trying to solve, is how to keep people on sort of more or less a straight line. Because then if things wander too far, I think at the end of it, a lot of people are going to get maybe frustrated, give up, look at it and say, well, this is kind of pointless, or, you know, whatever. Maybe not, whereas I'm thinking, well, if you can keep things kind of, can we put some guides in there? Can we change it from just a regular bowling alley with just gutters on the sides, and if you just get too far over, you miss all the pins? Can we we manage to put some bumpers in there? Now you're never going to solve for everybody giving up and whatever, but can we? Is there a way? I mean, and from my point of view, maybe it's not even worth the structure, but I'm giving it a try, and we'll go over that. But that's kind of thing. But I think you're probably going to see over time different people coming up with different techniques, ideas for trying to help narrow the focus because it's so wide right now to narrow it down. And if you start at the beginning of the year, you've got time to kind of get yourself situated and kind of figure out the methods you're going to use to tame your madness as you take on this challenge. But anyhow, that is their setup. I do like the idea of rumors. Rumors are good, but I don't think you need 52 of them. 52 rumors? I mean usually you've got 10, 12 rumors. That's like once every 2 weeks or once a month do a rumor. Let's see. So we got that. Now, here's a nice thing. People have been putting all kinds of cool stuff out there. Someone's put out Dungeon23 worksheets. I think the thing is I like about these challenges, which is why I wanted to take part in it, even if I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. Excuse me, is that it really galvanizes the community, and so you see this stuff. You see people putting out worksheets. Oh, you don't have a notebook or whatever. Like here, bam, I'm gonna make something that's gonna help you out. So I was really kind of galvanized like that for doing something. It's like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this, but I wanna harness that energy. I want to harness that energy. I want to see what I can do, which I always like that. Different people. I'm curious about this part here. I'll read because it's their design versus Dungeon23. And this will get into, I think a lot of people are going to end up doing this, right? Adapting the idea of this challenge and again, trying to harness this energy from this thing, but then migrating away potentially from the original approach. I think a lot of people are going to find, like I'm doing for my own, is here's this great energy and I want to be a part of it, but I don't want to do it this way. I don't need 365 rooms or I don't want 12 levels or I want to do something more, whatever. But like Sean said in his post, hey, the idea is to kind of get writing, get a kind of a prompt, just kind of go and get something. And then you hope at the end of the day you have this stuff and then you can actually do something for it. It wasn't just like, oh, good, I was just writing just a free write, but I can actually, there's a practical application for the stuff I'm doing. Frederick says the problem is putting so much work into this and then no one plays it. Well, hopefully you play it. I mean, look, a lot of folks who I think are going to be doing this are creators. They're going to, I'm sure, look, in a year, Christmas 2024, get ready for the onslaught of mega dungeons or mega-ish dungeons that were inspired by or created through Dungeon23, or probably not Christmas 2024, but spring 2025. We're all here. If the planet hasn't been blown up, I imagine we're going to see a lot of those. And then, yeah, hopefully individually, if you're just doing it for yourself, that you run it for your table, throw it out there. So I'll read this bit. My design versus Dungeon23. And this was posted on the All Dead Generations blog. My design, this I think was posted last week. My design techniques and goals are a bit different than Sean, so I prepared the worksheets to address the following issues. First, I don't like writing in physical notebooks. I suspect for many, the charm of Dungeon23 is the physicality of using a neat notebook, but I like to edit my work and work on it in various places using different devices. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it digitally. Second, I don't like bland dungeons filled with orcs, gnolls, and +1 swords. I don't use that sort of setting in my games. I don't get any joy from it or have any reason to design something in a style and dependent or rulebook aesthetics in a style and dependent. I think they mean on and dependent on rulebook aesthetics and setting content. This creates a problem for minimal keying because minimal keying is largely dependent on referring to other sources for its descriptive impact and other important information. When a key says 4 orcs guard an onyx pig idol worth 300 gold pieces, it's easy to envision what orcs are. Even if one uses pigmen or porks, instead, the key will require additional information to produce these new creatures, their appearance, typical demeanor, and statistics. What this means is I need more space for description to make a dungeon than Sean suggests. Yet, I want to keep things short. This is a quick exercise for a few minutes each day, something fun and easy to take a break from other work, gaming, or professional. I want to keep things constrained. Third, I want a dungeon that has more than just room descriptions. I want proper maps, local maps, illustrations, random encounter tables, rumor tables, factions, and rooms with complex puzzles. This thing is going to be 350 keys or so if everything goes well. So basically there it is. And then you can get this on Google Docs. I'll post the let me post the link to this, and I'll throw this in here so folks can grab. Hey, Krister, glad you could join. I don't think you missed too much. We went over the original blog post, and now we've just gone through a an all generations post, which happens to have this nifty sample sheet, and then there's a Google Docs for a workbook. I'm torn. I hear what they're saying. I agree in terms of being able to edit stuff. I'll be on my phone, then I'll switch to my iPad, then I'll be back to my phone, then I'll be at my laptop, then I'm back to my iPad. So having things that you can sync up so you can just keep adding things, there's probably some kind of middle ground where I could see using something like Notes or Google Docs or something else, but then also having the writing part. I kind of also, I mean, just romantically, I like the idea of doing it physically, even though I think that's another barrier in some ways to this challenge is if you ever forget it. You don't have a chance to do it in the morning. You got to go out, you got to do meet whatever, and then oh, I've left the notebook at home. Then you get home, it's late, you slept, whatever, and then oh, I've forgotten it. Then another day has passed. If you let too many of those days build up, then slowly the challenge fades into the background until it's gone. So you want to ward yourself against that. And if doing it electronically lets you sync everything up, keeps you on point, and I've always got my phone with me or my iPad or my laptop. I got one of those three devices with me at all times. There's never going to be a situation where I'm going to go, oh, I left it at home, or oh, where's my pen, or oh no, I left it on the bus and it's all gone. Then that might be good. So I definitely feel them on that. But the idea of having a physical thing at the end of it also is kind of cool. Great LC says they almost always have a moleskin with them anyway. Oh, we got some more here. Hey, Joey, welcome aboard. Great LC also says that they think if they don't use a journal, they would never stick with it. Need to be able to draw easily. Yep, I hear you. I mean, there's pluses and minuses, right? Unless you have a tablet with some kind of stylus and either a laptop, tablet, one of those right up whatever I forget those things called, those artist things to draw on, then the mapping part kind of is going to fall to the wayside, or you're going to have to save it for later, do something else if you don't have it. So yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. Ultimately, I would say if you're going to take on this challenge, don't start now. Start January 1st and use the time between now and the holidays to figure out how you're going to approach this thing, get all your supplies, get everything, and figure out that workflow. Because once you're starting, you're not going to want to skip, right? If you start on the moleskin and you decide, oh no, I really want to do this on my notes app and use your finger to draw, whatever it is, if you're switching over and you're kind of into it already, you're going to end up, I think like just going to cause dissonance. I think anything that causes kind of dissonance or causes you to pause or do something is going to sort of start setting you off the trail. So use the next couple of weeks. If you're looking at it going like I am in, I am down, don't rush and start now. Get all your stuff, all your ducks in a row, and then man, the ball drops on January 1st. Assuming you're out somewhere, I mean, me, it's usually like the ball drops and I'm either already asleep or it's like, all right, it's 12:01. Kisses and whatever's been done. Happy New Year's have been said. I'm going to bed. Spend that minute and do your first room. Krister says they use a tablet with a pen when they draw. Yep, it does work well. I have an iPad and I've got the Apple stylus and that works fine. Also, okay, so that is that. Let's go back and see what else we have here. Loan. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's in it, but it looks really cool. So this is this asset pack. I don't know these pictures. It's basically just it's just free some logo variations, some vectors, a color palette, and a style guide. All good work. So this again, this is what I like, right? The community starts pumping out stuff. Hey, you need a digital notebook, we got you covered. You want some assets to use, we got you covered, right? This is the stuff that I love. Um, we got another workbook over here. Ooh, this one looks like you could print this out. Maybe send it to. Is FedEx Kinkos? Is FedEx? Is that? I mean, I know FedEx is still a thing, but is the FedEx Kinko stuff still around? Do you still have FedEx Kinkos where you can actually go print stuff out, or you can also go Staples, Office Max? They all do it. You could go and print out some booklets. So this one maybe is another. This one may be another slightly differentiated take, inspired by Gygax75 and Dungeon23. This is called the Dungeon Architect's Workbook, and it's intended to guide you through the daily writing activity of building up a fantasy adventure dungeon. After a month, you'll have a 30-room dungeon. After a year, a 365-room mega dungeon. What will you create? Includes space for notes, guiding questions to focus each level of the dungeon, 100 keywords to inspire, and these 66 prompts to jumpstart your creativity. Each copy is 32 pages long, giving you space for over 8 weeks of dungeon design. So there you go. And you can, this is, and a lot of the stuff is like mine, it's free or pay what you want. And can I just say, like, people have paid me money for my 3 or 4, gonna be end up probably be 6 pages, but people were, and it's just super nice, right? Because I just threw it up there as something free, and, folks have decided to send over a buck or 2, but I really want those things add up, and I really appreciate it. So, and yeah, I mean, I think folks in the community are awesome at putting out stuff that's either, I mean, it's certainly below cost of time, right? So my thing I did myself. I did it on a combination of my laptop and my iPad. I'm not saying it's all been tested and been to the ringer and been, gone through peer review and everything, but I put a lot of time in it and put it up for nothing. And folks have given me throw me a few bucks. It's not like it's I've paid for my time. No, but it's just nice because I didn't really ask for it, and it's just super nice. And other people do the same thing, putting out these things, designing them, figuring out all this stuff takes time and resources and energy, and people just throw this stuff up for cheap or for nothing. And I've always felt like we're a little bit spoiled in that regard because as nice as it is, people do that. It's also like, man, it just sets up this expectation that nothing's worth a few bucks. But then you see people throwing you a few bucks when you didn't even ask for it. So it is an awesome community, and I find the kind of OSR/NSR sphere in particular very much, and that's why I really love these kind of events or these things that become events because people just kind of come together to help everybody along. Bullet Catcher says they're torn. OneNote is convenient, but physically writing is different. I seem to retain it better when I write it out. I think that's definitely a thing, Bullet Catcher. I think even maybe proven that I think we as just humans, at least at this point, maybe our kids or our kids will be at some point where tapping stuff in with our fingers will work better. But I think that's just a thing that, yeah, you're going to retain better when you write it down. Uh, if you can, but the convenience of the digital is too much because we always have our phones in our pocket. Christopher says wants to just say, can I reiterate just how much I love the tabletop role playing game community and all this creativity going around? There's so much fun stuff you can do for cheap or for free, and people are so helpful. It's awesome. It is awesome. I think this is the one that's meant for printing. Yes, right. So this particular resource you definitely want to print. Ian says that they were looking through the drive-through RPG sales the other day and saw someone comment complaining about it costing too much as paying for electrons. It was a 650-page PDF. Yeah, this is the thing I'm talking about. I don't want to get sidetracked on it, but people really need to adjust their self-load. Someone wrote out 650 pages, probably more, and then they shrink the type. It's probably started off as being 800 pages in some other kind of form if you were in Word, and then shrink it down, multi-column, do all this stuff, and it's probably on sale for $5, or even if it's $25, like, and someone's gonna be out there complaining. Um, so yes, it is nice because you get a lot of that stuff. So it is nice to see the other side of it, which is you put something out there, and I think I put like, oh, name your own price, or I think like if you go to name your own price on mine, I think it defaults to a buck, and then someone paid me 3, and you see that it's just like, oh, that makes you. It kind of gives you a little bit of hope when you see people just running down, running down your thoughts on humanity. You see that like, oh, hope, and then you see these things where people are just going out of their way to make stuff that you can just download and do, and you're like, oh, my restoring my hope in humanity, at the same rate, hopefully, as the people who are reducing my hope in humanity. All right, so we got that one. Let's go back and see what else we have here. And I haven't gone through these before, so this is kind of new for me, which is, that's how I like to do. We got let's see, that was a design workbook. Says this is not the same thing, is it? All right, so this is posted to pendiangames.substack.com. Get some overhead. Here's their journal, which I guess they've just posted as some images. Let's hold on. Let me go back. Let's go back to image one. So this has got looks like these are just landscape. I'm guessing letter sized pages. So here we have, here's just a mapping page, calendar tracker. That's handy. And then your notes page. So here we have another kind of mapping area, counters, notes, and then you can do these. So you get 2 days per page. So you could go and by the way, again, if you I don't know in Europe, but in the States, I think your Staples, your Office Maxes, whichever ones are Office Depots, whichever ones I think a lot of them have some kind of printing. And you can go use their printers and just use their photocopying machines, but you can also just send stuff electronically. It's fairly cheap. Now, I don't know for this, 365. So if you do two on each page, I don't know, you're at whatever, 178, 77, 78 pages, something like that. I'm not sure how much that would run you, but you can get all these printed off, I think, fairly cheap because it's only pennies a page, and maybe even less than that if you're actually send it off for them to print rather than uh, taking it to the photocopier. And I mean, and I don't know how much that ends up coming to, but man, it's probably a lot cheaper than printing all this stuff out on your home inkjet. And you can also download it as a thing. Oh, it's also here on their itch. There you go. Oh, they even have some more stuff. Oh, that was only a few pages. Okay, let's see how many pages did they make this? Oh, look at that. You can get it in all kinds of different modes. Oh, I need to put that on mine. Okay. So we get day tracker, full spread dot graph pages, 365 room area design pages, multi format. Boom. So you should just be able to take this one thing and then print it off. Awesome. Awesome. I say. Let me add it to I started kind of a collection sort of thing. Did I? Yeah, I'll put it there. Add that. Hadn't seen that before. Close that. All right, cool. What else have we got? So that was that. That was that. Dyson Logos has a map symbol legend. So these are them. I'm not going to go look at all these, but there's some dungeon morphs, some. Ooh, if you want to do a sci-fi related, because I know somebody said they were doing something, they were going to do it more for Mothership or kind of sci-fi. So you got sci-fi, and then you have Dungeon Scrawl, which I've seen. So Andy Duvall is at Duvelman Dice in a lot of places, and I know I've seen his stuff on TikTok, and he does a lot of stuff using. So he does a lot of drawing. I think he does maps and things, drawing stuff for people for work. He does commission work. He used. I remember seeing something on Twitch. I haven't delved in it too deeply, but one thing I saw him doing, I think, was kind of doing a rough mock-up in Dungeon Scrawl and then taking it and then working from that. So that might be a nice workflow too, particularly if you're going digital. You could make something kind of quickly in Dungeon Scrawl, and then if you want to draw over it, put it as a layer in something like Photoshop, and then you can draw over, and then you can make it your own, but you can use the kind of quick and easy tools to start. Seemed like a really neat method of doing things. Now we get a bunch of stuff on theory and design. Goblin Punches checklist, 3-step dungeon, guide to 500 dungeons. I'm not going to go through all these unless I just have oodles of time at the end. And then we got some links to system rules, and then we got some stuff on populating dungeons. We have some prompts, world building exercises, mega threads, all kinds of stuff. I want to say I'll probably have to I'll add this to my thread, but I definitely will add some posts of some of the stuff that we've looked at on the channel that I think will help. I need to kind of go through and remember stuff, but there's definitely some things that we've looked at that will help. Like I think Sean McCoy mentioned it in his post. Generators and tools are going to be your friend because you're going to be. I don't care how strong your idea is. There's probably going to be some point, at least once, probably multiple times when you're looking at that page for the day, and no matter how much you flip back and forth between the last couple of rooms you did and this room, you're going to be kind of coming up with a blank. Being able to go to a tool and say quickly one that you have on hand, either physically or digitally, and just roll on a table and get something, even if it's nonsensical, that you can write in there. Of course, like I said, you can put an empty room, you can do that, but you don't want to put in an empty room, but you're thinking, gosh, I don't know I don't know what to do with it. Have some things on hand because the thing is, you don't want to do is you don't want to get stuck. You get stuck, you miss a day. You're stuck again, you miss another day, and then you miss those days, and whoop, you end up on the off ramp. And before you know it, you're looking back and going, "Oh yeah, what happened? I started off strong and I got a couple of weeks in, and now it's kaput." The, the K5K says, "Looks like this is every spare minute of my weekend sorted. Lots to consider. Layout, pencil draft, pen first. Exciting. Yep, it is all exciting, and this is why it's going to be really interesting to see how this works when uh, when the excitement part wears out. Right, that the honeymoon's over, and now you're into the slog. I don't know how long it's going to last for different people. Maybe quickly, maybe slowly, whatever. It's gonna be a lot. Now I saw some this is on itch resources. There's a GitHub too. Is the GitHub just the same as are these all the same? Just take a look just in case. Oh, the GitHub page is not there. Is there something amiss? Is it non-development dice like GitHub? Uh let's just see if this works. If it doesn't work, I'll go on to the other one. No, does not work. Okay. Actually, let's see what if we go here. Does this work? Oh, I guess they changed it. All right, it seems like it's the same thing. Okay. And then this, oh, it's also the same thing. Okay, cool. All right, that is that. Now, so I will just go ahead and show it. So this is mine. I didn't do anything with I don't have much with the page. I'm on version 1.1. Hey, Broughton. If you happen to download this early on, I updated. I have not done a lot of stuff. I mean, I have some stuff on itch, but not stuff that I've been updating. So I'm not exactly sure what the best workflow is. So what I did was the first one was Dungeon Helper V1. Then I added a file, Dungeon Helper V1-1, and then I kind of you can sort of turn off visibility on another file. So then I kind of flipped the other one to be invisible. And then I also added this development log. So if you happen to, on the early side, downloading was just version V1, hopefully you got a notification. I don't really have any way of knowing. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I may be doing this totally wrong. I'll need to sort that out. But here's mine, and I'll just show you if I can do this. Let me see if I can. Oh, yes, I can show you. Hold on. Switch something up really quick. Get to here. Okay, so this is my thing. You're looking at this is version 1.1. I'll actually show you the source file. So my concept was to this version doesn't have my does not have my what's the word I'm calling it? My strat or my schedule, my particular schedule. This one just has kind of I tried to write this out in terms of so we have as if you've been here through the chat, we've just got this big broad challenge, and a couple of people kind of try to narrow it down a little bit. Here, I'm sort of trying to focus it even more. So trying to give this more of a not necessarily based on the Gygax 75, but as I was looking at it, I'm thinking my approach is kind of very much like that kind of Gygax 75 approach. So what I'm saying is these prompts are kind of designed to start thinking about your overall dungeon first. Like, don't start with a room, right? January 1st, room number one. And I'm saying, hold your horses. Before you start writing rooms, start thinking about this overall stuff. Kind of nail down these things about your dungeon. And so I go through and I try to go to some prompts, right? So where is the dungeon located? Like, where is it? And then I don't mean necessarily geographically in your world. It's 500 clicks north of Greyhawk. I know. I don't know. I don't care. What is the terrain? What hex is it in? I'm at Hex Express. What hex? What hex is it in? What kind of terrain's around it? Which is going to help give you visualize it. What it is? Is it in the mountains? Is it in the desert? Is it in the deep wood? Is it wherever? Like, where is it? And then does it fit in or does it not fit in? Is it something really like that's gonna like there's a cave in a mountain? Okay, that totally makes sense. Or is it a floating citadel that's just gonna be like, oh, this doesn't fit in at all? What's the nearest settlement? How do these two things coexist? There's all kinds of nasty stuff in the dungeon. And why is the stuff in the dungeon? Basically, why does the stuff in the dungeon stay in the dungeon, and why does the stuff in the settlement stay in the settlement? Like, what keeps them? Do they not know about each other? All that kind of stuff. Like, just so basically, like, just think about your dungeon. Then think about, well, what is it? What did it start out as? What is it now? Could have been a cave, and now it's uh, a mine, or it could have been a mine, and now it's a home. All these things. Like, I'm trying to. If you can see here, I'm trying to focus. Like, let's wrap our brains around what we're doing, what we plan to create before we start writing out rooms. And this may seem, I think, for some people, it's going to be, well, of course, I'm thinking about that anyway. Blah blah blah. Well, the exercise is kind of, well, just write yourself some notes. And I'm hoping that having these notes means that when you're going through and you're flipping through your pages and you're okay, I'm onto this room, and you might need to answer questions or something comes up, you can go back and see kind of, here's what I decided I'm doing. That you always have that kind of touchstone. Let me go back, let me figure out what I was doing, and now I know where I'm going. Right. That kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm trying to help set up through these prompts. Get folks thinking about what it is. And this is, I think, definitely, what are we? We're as I record this, we're December 16th. If you're going to start it on January 1st, you have a couple of weeks to kind of mull this stuff over, write out some notes. That way you can hit the ground running, but you have some structure. Who runs the dungeon? What are the factions there? Whatever, and then who opposes it, if anybody, right? Are there folks, creatures, forces out there in the world that are trying to bring the dungeon down? All that stuff. Then I try to give us kind of a little step by step how to breaking down the dungeon. My idea here, and I actually went a little bit further, is which I'm not sure is in this version, but I'll try to get it on screen so I can show it. Is breaking down the dungeon into kind of parts. 12, a level that you're working over a month. That's a lot. How can we break it down? Or even thinking about levels, because levels is great, but as we've seen with things like Barrel Maze, you don't have to have a lot of vertical levels. So maybe I don't use levels. I say areas. Your areas could be levels. You could have areas all stacked vertically, in each area being a level, but areas could be split out horizontally. They could be split in different ways. But just thinking about these distinct areas. So we think of areas somewhat as a level, but it doesn't have to be. If you use level in your brain and that gives you a certain mental picture, I'm trying to kind of break through that. Hey, don't worry about it whether it is vertically on top of the other one. We're going level 0, 1, 2, whatever. Just think about it as I have these distinct areas. And an area can have any number of locations. It can be small, it can be big, I don't care. But we're thinking about that. And then I've got another page which will show things about them. Oh, I lost. Hold on a minute. Bloop. There we go. I don't know why I did that. Then let's think about, okay, we can start thinking about what are these areas, what are they, what's in them, whatever that stuff. And then you put your rooms, you put them in the areas. And I'm trying to focus. So if we go from what is the dungeon, get all that stuff, dungeon set up. Now I'm thinking, okay, now I'm looking at this area level. What is it? What is this level supposed to be? And then when I'm working on individual rooms and area, I can look back at my notes and say this room. So an area, and part of the reason why I call it an area as opposed to levels, I want you to think about it in terms of function as well as form. This area is the prison. Okay. So now I'm building out rooms. I know the rooms are in the prison. The prison is in the citadel of the dwarves. Great. So between those things, hopefully that keeps me focused on the rooms, because the prison, that area is going to have all stuff, is going to be different than, say, the catacombs where they buried their dead and all the things going on there. So I think, does that make sense? Hopefully that, the way I'm trying to kind of set stuff up. Krister, let me know if I'm not back, because it seems like I'm back, but might not have been. So it's all about funneling our focus. So here we get on to, and let's just zoom in. Oh, that was the wrong thing. Zooming in on the wrong page. Let me get here. No, I don't want to do that. Nope. Okay. So then we get into areas. and I talk about areas, thinking about themes, and themes are just for me a way of try to just categorize things. Like the life theme could be a hospital, could be a holy place, kind of a good holy place as opposed to like an evil unholy place. Could be something else of that sort. It could be, a mystic fountain or a lovely wood, whatever, death, magic. And so you want to think again, coming up with what that theme, and then hopefully you're taking those themes and marrying it to everything so that when you're thinking about how to populate these rooms, what these rooms are, you're putting all this stuff together. So we're in what was the first thing I said? The prison in a dwarven citadel, and the theme is death. So when I think about the stuff in that prison, even though I'm going to lean into that death theme, I want a lot of things, chains with old, hands, skeletal hands still cuffed in the chains. They're just hanging there. Ghosts just a pervading just atmosphere of just negative dread. All that stuff. I want, again, I guess really the goal of this whole thing is focus, focus, focus. And think of and I'm trying to get you to think about materials and sensations. Remember when you're building out rooms, thinking of the sights, sounds, smells, what do you hear, all that kind of thing. And then I want you to think about, hey, how's this? How do you get to this section? How do you get out of this section? What does it connect to? Who lives here? Not just the factions, but any other creatures or things that are there. And then motifs as idea of taking that kind of theme and then giving it even further, where you come up with a few specific things and say, okay, here's an examples I have. Hey, every time you see us, every time I want to, so a motif is a way of basically having a form and a specific form, tying it to a specific function. The examples I give here, say statues with right arms raised indicate the presence of nearby secret doors. So when you're building out your dungeon, you're like, "Ooh, I want a secret door here." Put a statue with their right arm raised. And once you have those, you can also play against them a little bit, where you can have, what if the right arm is down, or ooh, the left arm is raised. You can kind of play around with that. So you have these kind of symbols, and I think I suggest coming up with 3 or 4 of them that you can scatter it around. We want players, we want to have stuff they can pick up on, and I really like the idea of, and it makes sense for a place too. Usually things you have some kind of trace because you don't want it to be secret to everybody, so you make kind of a code. Think of the hobo code or somebody's code, or they want to put it in. So it makes sense that you might format a place so that the people who know can figure out what they need to figure out, and maybe the players again figure out. So examples, besides the statues, I think I had one, a checkerboard pattern of tile flooring indicates that there's a trap. Doors with an eye symbol on it in some way are magically warded, things like that. And you're writing down a few of these, and then you can pull them into your rooms when appropriate. And then the last thing, I had to actually look up this word, but it is a word, even though spell check wants to tell me it's not. Differentia, which is in each area, come up with one kind of distinct, unique feature. It could be an architectural feature, it could be a material feature, something that sets us apart. We have all these different areas, all these different themes, everything. But what is one thing that's like you can highlight around? And I feel like it's not only is it a special thing, but it's something that kind of the place is built around. So if imagine the area is a hospital, I might say, okay, the differentia for this place, what sets it is there's going to be one of those big, like operating room kind of those ones that are stage, or at least that they used to have. Maybe I don't know if they still do or not. Those things that you remember, if you ever like the 19th century, where you could go and watch some guy perform surgery or watch somebody, uh, you know, uh, inspect a cadaver, do all this stuff, and they would have one of those. I guess they called it an operating theater. That it might be some massive operating theater. That is the differentiate. That's the thing, and then everything around is going to be leading towards it. So while I'm thinking about the layout, I'm like, okay, what's kind of the spiritual center of this hospital? It's that theater, and so more passages are going to come there, right? It's going to be the kind of where it funnels everything to. And it's also that sort of special thing. So you think about what is the marquee feature for that thing? It's that operating theater. Um, and then there's a little bit about me, which I don't need to tell you a lot about. And then the last part I had in this one was looking at the outside world, just looking at it and saying, hey, how are people getting here? Where are they coming from? What are they doing? One thing that was interesting, I don't know if that ever really pays. I think it pays off a little bit, but it was set up in the village of Hamlet. And I think it also comes up in the actual temples of elemental evil, was the fact that there's kind of people are traveling. The cult members are going in, things are happening. There's movement there, which gives you opportunities if you want to have it as an active place. party may not be able to just walk in because it's deserted. Maybe they need to sneak in or do other things, and these give you this give you avenues because you could potentially, dress up like one of the bad guys and head into the mega dungeon that way. It also gives you a sense of, well, how again, we're answering questions about, well, how does the settlement get along with the dungeon, or how does the dungeon, whatever. There's commerce potentially. There's maybe people moving back and forth. There's other things. Kind of just think about. There may be nothing. It may be that it is something that is as yet undisturbed, but maybe is there's a ward in the bottom of it, and the seals are breaking, and some evil's going to come out, but nothing's actually come out yet, and so there isn't any. But if there is, you want to think about it. And then thinking about the settlement and thinking about putting things, not just having it be a list of materials and kind of where you can stay at the end, but thinking about it. Well, you have factions that are in your dungeon. How do they relate to the settlement? Are there essentially agents of the different factions in the settlement? How do the major settlement NPCs feel about the dungeon if they know about it? Are some of them in favor of the dungeon? Some of them are looking to destroy the dungeon, right? Well, how does all that play in? And then this last part I talk about is kind of resources, just about the world. How's the dungeon kind of affected the world? I like to think of things of great power having sort of a gravity. If you think about it, talking about different senses, like, oh, you have a dragon's lair nearby. Well, how does that warp the land around it? I feel the same way about this kind of big dungeons. They should have some effect. You may not know that, oh, dungeons right there, but you might feel like something's amiss or something weird's happening, or there's something going on there. That's how I feel. Are there any resources? Is this Khazad-dûm and there's Mithril in the bottom of it and something's happening with that? Do we want to know? And then finally, it's kind of the of a doom. Like, is there a ticking clock involved? And if there's so, figure out what that is. Are there some kind of something trapped in the basement of the mega dungeon that's going to be unleashed if you don't go and do something because the spells are breaking, sort of thing? Is someone building an army, and once they reach a certain point, going to come spilling out? Is it like an atomic bomb down there? And if you don't fix it or you don't turn it off, it's going to explode. Some kind of doomsday device. Kind of think about what that is, because that gives you that. If you want to have it, you don't have to. But if you want to have some kind of ticking clock, kind of what is it? So this is what's out there right now. I will show you briefly. It's just going to take me a minute. I might need to pop off. We'll see if I can do this. Maybe I don't have to. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can manage to switch over. Main window. That's that. The window I want is hold on a minute. Oh, you know what? I don't think I saved it. Shoot. Let me see if I have it. I might not. I might not have gotten it too far. Hold on. Maybe it's loading. Is it doing something? Open recent. There we go. I've actually added more to this, but you can kind of get a sense. By the way, if you're a creator, someone's interested in doing stuff, Affinity, and I'm not affiliated with. Oh, it's not showing up, or is it? Oh, it's not. Why aren't you showing up? Oh, you're making this difficult, aren't we? Hold on, let me see. Maybe I need to change it. Oh, publisher. I don't think it's gonna let me. Wait a minute. No, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, it's not letting me. It's not letting me. Essentially, the schedule. Let's see. Hold on. Krister says, "Sounds interesting. Can I elaborate on why?" Oh, Portal. Krister, are you responding to me or to Perkins? Oh, let me finish what I'm saying about Affinity. So Affinity, not affiliated with them anyway. They are a competitor to Adobe in terms of Photoshop. They have a Photoshop-like product called Photo. They've got a image editing software, or kind of a sort of an Illustrator type, that's called Designer. And they have a InDesign type that's called Publisher. And what I was trying to show you, unfortunately, it didn't work, was Publisher. Right now, they have 2.0. They've come out with this 2.0. And you can get it on all your devices, all three of them, for I think $99. And I'm telling you, it's a super, super good deal. If you feel like working on coming up with something that you want to typeset and sell, and you want to get some good image editing and other things, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing it. And one of the things that is gonna I feel like it's gonna change change my life. Let me see if I can pull up the website. Or I can, Ian, because it's an important picture. That's the wrong. Hold on a minute. I think it's. Whoops. That's, if you go to affinity.serif.com, plunk this in. So yeah, it's 40% off until January 25th. Here's what I like about it. So you've got designer, which is fine. You got photo, which is fine. And there are plenty of apps. So okay, if you're someone like me, so I have Windows. I have Windows right now. I'm on a Windows laptop. I've got an iPad and I've got my iPhone. So I have two operating systems, three different devices. If I'm just doing photos, there's nothing wrong with Affinity Photo. It's good. It's great. But you might think, well, I've got an iPad and it's got plenty of different photo apps. I might have whatever I've paid for. Great. However, the Affinity apps, okay, they all work together, which is great. So you have that. The big deal is you're only paying once. You're only paying once. Terrence, no subscription. You're paying once. Paying once. And not only are you getting Windows, you're getting Windows, Mac, and iOS. And even I don't know if they're on Android. So I don't quote me on Android, but all devices. So you can get all these three. They all work together and they all work cross devices. Now the big one for me that's going to be a game changer is Publisher. Because I don't know if there's another one. I don't know if there's another app like this, but I can typeset documents on my iPad with this and cross back and forth with my laptop. And that is, I mean, it's going to be a game changer. This actually, my my Dungeon23 doc, I worked on probably 2/3 on my iPad and a third on my laptop, and it's going to change my capabilities of doing things because I don't have to wait. And I don't think Adobe has an InDesign. They've done a good job with bringing over Photoshop, and you have Photoshop on your phone. And I actually like Adobe Express. Don't sleep on Adobe Express in terms of a tool if you're just doing like social media kind of posts and things like that. It is great. The K5K, okay, it's 99 bucks. Would you think it's pricey? Maybe. Sure. Kinda. But it's three apps. So right there, just take it. It's three apps. You may be able to buy them individually, but I would just say get them all. So you're going from $99 for a bundle. So now you're saying $33 an app, right? So now you're down to $33 an app, which is not, I don't think it's very pricey. All things considered. If you've bought any video games for your Xbox or anything else, imagine if you could buy a video game for 60 bucks and it worked on your PlayStation, your Xbox, and your PC. That's kind of what you're getting. And everything goes across. Then okay, now you take that. And now you get the fact that it's no subscription. That's it. 100 bucks. Done. I'm sure if they come out with V3, it's probably not free, it's probably not free upgrades forever. Just for this, whatever, bam, you're done. Uh it is like that's a lot of value for the price. It is, and that's what I'm saying. And I think if you're interested in doing things down the line, maybe after Dungeon 23, you're like, oh, I'd really like to lay this out. You'll see people finding and God bless them, finding all these amazing ways to like, well, I can use this. I can use some kind of Google Docs, or people have done something. So I've been able to use some kind of slideshow program to make something that ends up printing out like a doc. That's all great, but this gives you professional or close. I am not a professional graphic or layout artist, but I actually have done it professionally. Well, I guess maybe I am a professional. I've done professional layout. A long time ago now, but I've laid out software manuals and I've done things like that. I actually started off on using Quark Express, which was and InDesign was such a breath of fresh air at that moment. So I've done it professionally. So it's not my current profession. And this is more or less a professional piece. All the tools, everything. If you ever wanted to learn how something like InDesign works, you can do that. No, it's not free. You could probably get it. It's 40% off. So if you only wanted this one, what is it if you buy it alone? So yeah, so it looks like if you're buying them separately, you got to buy them separately. But if you buy them all together, look at that, 99 bucks, you get all that. Crazy. Krister, I manage websites. I work for a financial fintech firm, and I manage their sort of front end websites for their sort of not client face public facing portals. But I've done a lot of stuff. My education is actually in English and history, so I've done a lot of different work, and I used to do more tech writing kind of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And one of the things I did was I did the tech writing, and I also did the layout. And it all started kind of by chance. I was there at my company I worked for at the time, and they were having a lot of issues with uh, their layout person. They were sending it off to layout. And I think at some point I said, because we were running up on deadlines, and I said, would it be helpful if they could send me the source files? I'll try to figure it out. I think we even had an even old copy of Quark Express or something, and I think we ended up just updating. I'm like, I'll try it, I'll because we need to get it done. And I think if I'm just making edits, and I'll figure it out. And it was kind of nightmarish, but I figured it out. And then soon after that was the first versions of InDesign came out, and I was just I told them, like, just get this before we do another version of this software manual or this thing. Like, let's please let's move over to InDesign. I did, and other than there's lots of features been added, but the interface actually is not super different. Even when I'd been away from it for a couple of years and I came back to it, I'm like, oh, a lot of this stuff still bleeds into it. So I didn't mean to turn this into an Affinity by Affinity post, but I actually did want to mention it because if you want to get in on the kind of ground floor and have pro tools, more or less professional grade tools. Maybe I'm sure InDesign offers some things that probably Publisher doesn't, and I'm sure they're going to add on to it, whatever. But you want to get pretty close, and you want to do it in a way that's kind of WYSIWYG. It's not like if you're using something like latex, or like I think Krister talked about when we looked at his thing he's working on, where you have some other program that's sitting on top of latex, and you have to do everything, and it can do a lot of stuff, but it's also very limited and very kind of can be kludgy at a time, and it's so much stuff going on. Then you move to something like this where it's you can look at it on the page, you can see it, got everything. It does add some complexity in some ways. But if you're looking to get into that and you're thinking, hey, I want to do Dungeon 20, I want Dungeon 23, I want to do something else, and I want to maybe put it on Drive Through or put it on Itch or put it somewhere, and you don't necessarily want to pay to someone else to lay it out, this is a really great time to get in. You have until save your pennies, save your pennies, save your bucks. Really think strongly about this because I think, look, this if you wanted to get the Adobe Suite for a month, I think it's 50 or 60 bucks, something like that. So, and people hate on it, but the Adobe Suite is really good. All the way it interacts together and does everything, and this brings that into a non-subscription kind of thing. So there's my unasked for um, ad for Affinity. And for me, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna be able to do a lot of things and hopefully get finished with some stuff because I'm gonna be able to work on stuff on my iPad. There are times where where you were seeing me, you can't you can't see, I have this great kind of background because it's very, I mean, great because it's plain, right? There's nothing back there. I don't have anything. The wall is only right. Look at that, right there. And what you can't see is right here. Let's see, where's my hand coming on the camera? Okay. So here in my hand at the edge of the camera, if I move another foot, that's my bed where I sleep. Now I'm on this side. I move maybe a foot and a half from here. There's a window. That's that's edge. So I'm in a box. I am literally in the almost I'm actually in a smaller than the 5x5 square that our characters are operating in combat. I am in a tiny box. Tiny box. So what happens is if it's late at night and I've got some inspiration to work on something, my wife is asleep. I can't come in here. This is off limits to me. I'm out. I'm done. Can't do it. So a lot of times I would try to take notes and then I have to remember my notes in the morning and sometimes just be disheartening and you just don't do it. So I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I can't do it. Or it's just a laptop, but I've got it all like plugged into a bunch of stuff. If I need to go and unplug it from a bunch of stuff and then plug it back in, that's kind of a pain. The other thing is I have to come into the room to do it. Might wake up people, so on and so forth. Like I don't want to turn on any lights. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of barriers for me doing stuff. I think when a lot of folks are like, "Oh, everybody's asleep now, I can work on my own stuff." That is actually when I have a lot of barriers to doing stuff because all my whole setup here is based in this little square that we've set up between my bed and the wall. I'm in a tiny Brooklyn apartment. This is what I got. Being able to have my iPad, and I have the iPad which has the case that has the keyboard in there and a little kind of mouse pad thing. Having that now is going to enable me to late at night, everyone's asleep, and I want to work on something. I can grab it and work on it. So I'm really pumped. And I just thought, like, you know what? Let me share it because I am super pumped. K5K says the recent pieces on my shorts and anecdotes from the share good. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, the other thing is I've been doing so TikTok, and who knows what's going to happen with TikTok, at least here in the U.S. since the government may shut the thing down. But that's been good too. It has some nice tools, and it's just kind of gotten my got my creativity going, and give me some way to kind of update things off the cuff. That again, I don't have to be in this box. I could be somewhere else. I can record something quick and post it. And I wouldn't really want to do that. I do that sometimes for longer videos, but then I have to kind of edit them. And actually, that's getting better. There are better apps now for editing things if I'm on my phone or my iPad to edit. But just doing like a minute and then just shooting it off somewhere, I've kind of found my groove with it. I remember when the shorts and TikTok first came out, I thought, what am I going to talk about in a minute? I can barely get through things in a half hour. Look how I've just filled up an hour. How am I going to do a minute? But I've figured out some strategies that are working all right. Perkins said they only need the Mac and the iOS. I get it, Perkins. I only need the Windows and the iOS right now. I still think it's a great deal. Even if you only need 2 out of the 3, I would still say it's an amazing deal because you're still getting 3 pieces of software. Even if you only needed one version, 3 pieces of software goes from $99 to, $33 a piece. Not a lot for a piece of software, especially with no subscription. And then you get the second one. Either you can look as a bonus, or you can say now I'm paying going down from $33 to what, 11 to $12 per 11 to $12 an app. And then you just think, well, I got the third one for free in case I need it. So Krister says to get a docking station. Yeah, I kind of have one. The thing is I got I got enough stuff plugged in here that one docking station doesn't do. And I've also noticed that some stuff doesn't play nicely when you threw it through the docking station. Might just be my docking station, but it's what I got right now. But I noticed there are a few things when I plug it in through the docking station, they kind of glitch out and act weird. When I plug it directly into the USB, they work. So I've gotten it down to now to unplug my laptop and move it. I have to unplug 4 wires besides the power wire. Actually, 5 now. I got 5 wires. I got to unplug them. I've kind of got them situated, so I sort of have. When I unplug them, I've kind of got them gathered together, so I know which ones they are, and then I can do that. But still, it's a pain. It's a pain in the night and to do everything. And then you get weird stuff like I've happened when I stream after I've done that, and sometimes then the stream thing. So just being able to be on my iPad, it just removes all that trouble. Just woo, I don't have to worry about it. And frankly, for some of the process, the iPad actually is more comfortable, lighter. It doesn't get hot. My laptop's kind of a gaming laptop, so it's heavy, it's hot, the battery's not tremendous. It's great for this because it allows me to do stuff that are kind of desktop-ish without a desktop, but it also means I can't take it out for hours unplugged, and then if I gotta take the plug out with it, then that's a whole lot of monkeying around, which I don't wanna do when people are asleep. So, works for me. Alright, folks, that was an hour. Hopefully, besides being informative on the state of Affinity software, I hope this shed some light on Dungeon23. If you haven't had a chance to grab my helper doc, you can look at the forums, forums.hex.press, or you can go, if you go to itch and you search out Dungeon23, you will find it. I think let's see, let's just check this out there you go. Look at that. Boop, 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 right there. You can grab it, look for an update. Might even be this evening. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if not over the weekend, where I'm gonna finish up my schedule, and then I might have another couple of notes, and then I'm gonna kind of lay it to bed for a while, let things marinate. Let's see what other kind of resources come up, see things, and then probably closer to go time for Dungeon 23. Maybe I'll update it, or maybe not. We'll see. And if and there's a community thing there too, if you're on itch and you have comments you want to share, questions, you catch a typo, you can let me know there. All right, folks. Hey, give a thumbs up on your way out if you don't mind. If you found yourself in here and you're not subscribed and you feel like subscribing, that would be awesome. Other than that, have a great weekend, everybody. Let me know what everyone decides doing with the Dungeon 23. I'd love to see some stuff from the community and use my forums or somewhere else to kind of share and support each other. And hopefully we get see a lot of cool stuff coming out of this. Other than that, game on, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye now.